Good morning. 360 seconds, news and commentary for broadcast professionals. Let's discuss the latest technological news with our respected experts, Philip Grossman and Mary Seidler. Don't forget to give the program a like. So first, IBC is canceled. They've canceled the in-person event in Amsterdam, and they're focusing on bringing the content and technology to the community via IBC Digital. Obtaining an American visa for NAB could take at least 15 months. Do you think that NAB is going to become a local or virtual exhibition? Philip, what do you think?
Yeah, I hope it doesn't become a regional exhibition. I mean, it's one of the great things about it is the broadcast industry is such a broad international market. Some of the greatest technologies come from EMEA and the Asia Pac areas, and it'd be a shame if everybody couldn't get together to be able to see them in one place. I think a lot of it will be dependent on, we've got this newest variant that's running amok around the world, Omicron, and if it turns out to be not as pathogenic, hurting people, then maybe it's going to be hard to tell. I do think though that if NAB doesn't happen in April, that quite possibly it's the end of NAB. Maybe that'll be something that replaces it, but it's going to be really tough. 3 years running not to have that event.
Mary, what do you think? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think we've already started to see some of these smaller events grow in size, like the Texas show and even some regional shows in the Midwest. And I think as people get more used to those, I think the pull of NAB becomes weaker. And it was already, we weren't seeing as many international visitors as we used to in the last few years. So I'd hate to see it go away because there's so much good technological information you get at these shows and papers that get presented, but we'll see what happens.
All right, now moving on to some audio news. The Axia Quasar SR mixing console uses the same frame, power supply, and master module as the original Quasar, but the fader modules are non-motorized. There are fewer, larger, and easier to reach buttons on each channel strip, and Telos has also introduced an optional new remote control solution called Quasar Soft, which allows you to control the surface from any HTML5 browser. Mary, what do you think about the flexibility that this will give broadcasters?
It's funny, there's always this issue between consoles that are made in Europe and ones that are made in North America. And the others, population will say, oh, we don't like this because of X, Y, Z. And I believe that this is Quasar trying to reach across to the smaller markets and to smaller studios that don't need motorized faders. We're seeing a huge push, as we've talked about many times on this program, to everything being virtual. And even consoles, that's no different. I think the days of seeing big things like this that are behind me, unfortunately, are more for museum pieces.
Philip, do you agree? Do you think the same thing is kind of happening in video where they're trying to reach across the aisle and make sort of compromises that appeal to both sides?
Yeah, to some extent. I think the big issue you always have is that the end user, whether it's the technical director or the audio engineer, that console is like an instrument to them. And as much as one manufacturer's console may be better design, better technology, whatever it may be, it's hard to get somebody to switch. But I think more importantly, you're noticing is in this one that they're providing abilities to control the surfaces remotely. So I've always said that it's not an either or. It's not that we're going to be all remote or all in the studio. It's actually both, and figuring out how much of which is needed and the ability to adjust that over time is important. I think this is a great first step in the audio space.
All right, well, moving on briefly to Sony VENICE, which is a new 8.6K full-frame cinema flagship. It owns a new 8.6K full-frame image sensor with 16 stops of dynamic range. It can record XOCN RAW files internally. It's available in 2 versions, has a compact body design, and also inherits features from the original Venice, including color science, dual base ISO, and 8 stops of built-in ND filters. Philip, what do you think about the opportunities that this is going to provide?
So it's interesting to see more and more cameras now shooting in 8K. I don't think we're going to get to delivering of 8K material. That's not really the goal. I think what this is providing for the industry is you take an 8K image and you downsample it to 4K, and you've got an amazing 4K image. It's better than probably any native 4K image. So that's one thing that it's enabling them to do, as well as by having a larger image area. You're able to do punch-in zooms. You're able to do, simulated or virtual camera position. So a single 8K frame can actually hold two 4K images in it. So it gives a lot of creative capabilities in the space. So I'm excited to see Sony stepping in. Red's been doing it for a while. Now we're just waiting for Canon and for Ari to come into the 8K game.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. But we'll see you next week, this time at the same time. Thank you to our experts, Philip and Mary. See you next week.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.